William Francis Willie Sutton, Jr. was a prolific American bank robber. During his 40-year criminal career he stole an estimated $2 million, and eventually spent more than half of his adult life in prison and escaped 3 times. For his talent at executing robberies in disguises, he gained 2 nicknames, Willie the Actor, and Slick Willie. Sutton is also known as the namesake of Sutton's Law, though he denied originating it. Early life: Sutton was born into an Irish-American family in a Polish neighborhood in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. He was the 4th of 5 children, and did not go beyond the 8th grade of school. Career in crime: he turned to crime at an early age, though throughout his professional criminal career, he did not kill anyone. Described by mafioso Donald Francos as a little bright-eyed guy, just 5'7", and always talking, chain-smoking cigarettes with bull-dime tobacco. Franco stated also that Sutton dispensed mounds of legal advice to any convict willing to listen. Inmates considered Sutton a wise old head in the prison population. When incarcerated at the Tombs he did not have to worry about assault because mafia friends looked after him. In conversation with Donald Francos he would sadly reminisce about the violent and turbulent days in the 1920s and 1930s while he was most active in robbing banks, and would always tell fellow convicts that in his opinion, during the days of Al Capone and Charles Lucano, better known as Lucky Luciano, the criminal underworld was the bloodiest. Gangsters from the time period, and many incarcerated organized crime mafia family leaders and made mafiosi, loved having Sutton around for companionship. He was always a gentleman, witty and non-violent. Francos declared that Sutton made legendary bank thieves Jesse James and John Dillinger look like amateurs. Sutton was an accomplished bank robber. He usually carried a pistol or a Thompson submachine gun. "You can't rob a bank on charm and personality," he once observed. In an interview in the Reader's Digest published shortly before his death, Sutton was asked if the guns that he used in robberies were loaded. He responded that he never carried a loaded gun because somebody might get hurt. He stole from the rich and kept it, though public opinion later turned him into a perverse type of Robin Hood figure. He allegedly never robbed a bank when a woman screamed or a baby cried. Sutton was captured and recommitted in June 1931, charged with assault and robbery. He did not complete his 30-year sentence, escaping on December 11, 1932, using a smuggled gun and holding a prison guard hostage. With the guard as leverage, Sutton acquired a 13.5-meter ladder to scale the 9-meter wall of the prison grounds. On February 15, 1933, Sutton attempted to rob the Corn Exchange Bank and Trust Company in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He came in disguised as a postman, but an alert passerby foiled the crime. Sutton escaped. On January 15, 1934, he and 2 companions broke into the same bank through a skylight. The FBI record observes, Sutton also conducted a Broadway jewelry store robbery in broad daylight, impersonating a postal telegraph messenger. Sutton's other disguises included a police officer, messenger and maintenance man. He usually arrived at banks or stores shortly before they opened for business. Sutton was apprehended on February 5, 1934, and was sentenced to serve 25 to 50 years in the Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, for the machine gun robbery of the Corn Exchange Bank. On April 3, 1945, Sutton was one of 12 convicts who escaped the institution through a tunnel. Sutton was recaptured the same day by Philadelphia police officer Mark Keogh. Sentenced to life imprisonment as a 4th-time offender, Sutton was transferred to the Philadelphia County Prison, Holmesburg section of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. On February 10, 1947, Sutton and other prisoners dressed up as prison guards. The men carried 2 ladders across the prison yard to the wall after dark. When the prison searchlights hit him, Sutton yelled, "It's okay." No one stopped him. On March 20, 1950, Sutton was the 11th listed on the FBI's brand new FBI 10 Most Wanted Fugitives, created only a week earlier, on March 14. In February 1952, Sutton was captured by police after having been recognized on a subway and followed by Arnold Schuster, a 24-year-old Brooklyn clothing salesman and amateur detective. Schuster later appeared on television and described how he had assisted in Sutton's apprehension. Albert Anastasia, mafia boss of the Gambino crime family, took a dislike to Schuster because he was a squealer. According to mafia turncoat and government informant, Joe Valachi, Anastasia ordered the murder of Schuster, who was then shot dead outside his home on March 9, 1952. Judge Peter T. Farrell presided over a 1952 trial in which Sutton was convicted of the 1950 robbery of $63,942 from a branch of the Manufacturers Trust Company in Sunnyside, Queens. He received a sentence of 30 to 120 years in Attica State Prison. In December 1969, in response to a motion by Sutton's attorneys, Farrell ruled that Sutton's good behavior in prison and his deteriorating health due to emphysema justified commutation of his sentence to time served. At the hearing, Sutton responded, "Thank you, Your Honor. God bless you," and wept as he was led out of the court building. In 1970, separate 30 years to life sentence handed down in Brooklyn in 1952 was also commuted, on similar grounds, and he was released on parole. After his release, Sutton delivered lectures on prison reform and consulted with banks on theft deterrent techniques. He made a television commercial for New Britain Bank and Trust Company in Connecticut for their credit card with picture ID on it. His lines were, "They call it the face card. Now when I say I'm Willie Sutton, people believe me." Personal life and death. Sutton married Louise Lederman in 1929. She divorced him while he was in jail. Their daughter Jeannie was born the following year. His second wife was Olga Kowalska, whom he married in 1933. His longest period of employment lasted for 18 months. A series of decisions by the United States Supreme Court in the 1960s led to his release on Christmas Eve, 1969, from Attica State Prison. He was in ill health at the time, suffering from emphysema and in need of an operation on the arteries of his legs. Sutton died in 1980 at the age of 79. Before this, he had spent his last years with his sister in Spring Hill, Florida. He frequented the Spring Hill restaurant where he kept to himself. After Sutton's death, his family arranged a quiet burial in Brooklyn in the family plot. Sutton's Law. In a famous apocryphal story, Sutton was asked by reporter Mitch Ernstod why he robbed banks. According to Ernstod, he replied, "Because that's where the money is." The quote evolved into Sutton's Law, often invoked to medical students as a metaphor for focusing a workup on the most likely diagnosis, rather than wasting time and money investigating every conceivable possibility. In his autobiography, Sutton denied originating the pithy rejoinder. The irony of using a bank robber's maxim as an instrument for teaching medicine is compounded, I will now confess, by the fact that I never said it. The credit belongs to some enterprising reporter who apparently felt a need to fill out his copy. I can't even remember where I first read it. It just seemed to appear one day, and then it was everywhere. If anybody had asked me, I'd have probably said it. That's what almost anybody would say. It couldn't be more obvious. Or could it? Why did I rob banks? Because I enjoyed it. I loved it. I was more alive when I was inside a bank, robbing it, than at any other time in my life. I enjoyed everything about it so much that 1 or 2 weeks later I'd be out looking for the next job. But to me the money was the chips, that's all. The Reedlands Daily Facts published the earliest documented example of Sutton's Law on March 15, 1952 in Reedlands, California. A corollary, the Willie Sutton Rule, used in management accounting, stipulates that activity-based costing should be applied where the highest costs occur, because that is where the biggest savings can be found. Further reading, Moeringer, Junior Sutton. Thorndike Press. ISBN 14104511119. References. External links, FBI website entry on William Sutton, Willie Sutton, Urbane Scoundrel. New York Times, February 17, 2002, Notable Names Database. Willie Sutton is dead at 79 feet, New York Times obituary. November 19, 1980, Contract Killer, the explosive story of the Mafia's most notorious hitman Donald Tony the Greek Francos by William Hoffman and Lake Headley.